What up, everybody? I'm actually here with my client, James here. He's been in the program for a little bit over 3 months, and I just want to sit down, interview him, and just see how his process has been going. So far, he's still in the program, but he has seen crazy, crazy progress. So I just want to check in with him to see, how he's liking the program. So, James, the floor is yours. Tell the people a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So my name is James Kirksey. I'm a barber. That's what my career is, but basically been on and off in this fitness journey for a long time. And I just feel like one of the things that I struggle with is like a consistent based routine when it comes to nutrition and workout plans. I would say more on the nutrition aspect of things because I used to kind of like go on a binge sometimes and would catch myself lacking, and then all of a sudden it becomes a habit. So I feel like within this program, me just working with you, obviously we the homies or whatever, but you just kind of like narrowed it down and made it more flexible when it comes to the nutrition side of things, not really having to be on like a super strict structured diet, you know what I mean? Which is more
Hmm.
sustainable in the long term goals. So I think definitely within this program, that has been like one of the biggest blessings is that, I can still have somewhat of a free range to kind of eat the foods that I love and then also keeping on track with eating healthy on top of that. So I feel like with all those two things combined, it's just kind of like a win-win situation.
For
And
sure, for
obviously,
sure.
obviously the workout plans too, you know what I mean?
Yes,
But
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, it all starts in the kitchen. Tell people about, your relationship with food now and how you can kind of overcame, some of your old obstacles.
Okay, so I guess the best way to kind of put it is like the food now is just more so like looking at the nutritional values of like certain foods that you still somewhat love, but keeping it in some type of moderation sense. But I feel like, like I said before, just like my past problems before were more so just staying super strict and structured. Like and it all comes with mental state of mind too. I just feel like the game changer for me was mainly just focused on like, kind of on myself in a way, in a sense of like looking at it like I'm not where I want to be yet. Why am I
Hmm.
struggling to really achieve these goals? And then it all just comes off of self-discipline, you know what I mean? But the self-discipline factor is more sustainable when you can still, obviously I'm a foodie. I don't know about everybody else, but like, I love eating food, so I don't want to stay on strict like, grilled chicken, broccoli, all this other stuff that they try to advertise on the media kind of thing, right? Yeah, those things
Hmm.
can make you have some quick gains, but in the sustainable aspect of things for like your future and stuff, if you're trying to maintain the physique that you want, it's not a proper approach. So I feel like, working with you and stuff, you're kind of narrowing down like, oh, you can still eat the foods you love, bro. But the big thing is like you got to track what you eat, you know?
Hmm.
And I feel like, yeah, sometimes it gets a little overwhelming at times because you're just like, dude, I just want to eat. But
Hmm.
like when you track your food and, obviously you put it in the work and like the workouts and everything, it's like all that stuff just balances itself out. And that's where you start seeing the progress. You know what I mean? It's just more so like nutrition is the biggest factor, but like I know a lot of people, it's just speaking off of myself and my experience, gym is not really that hard to make it to. It's really
Hmm.
what you put into your body. But if you can combine both of those things, it's a win-win situation. So
For sure. 100%. No, I totally agree. So let me ask you, what made you take the leap into joining the program? Like what really kicked it off? You've been in the gym for so long on your own. What really made you take the leap into joining the program?
say the biggest leap, I mean, obviously we know each other and, I've seen progress in you and whatnot. So it's just kind of like, oh, like my guy's really locked in. So like at the end of the day, I'm kind of like, I'm locked in the gym, but like what else do I got to do outside of it? Like, I know the nutrition aspect of things, but at the same time, it never was sustainable for me. So then like obviously just getting pointers from you and tips and stuff is just kind of like, man, I want to have that type of physique. You know what I mean? I want to have my dream
Hmm.
physique. Let me just lock in.
For
But it
sure.
also helps with the assist of like an actual coach that knows what he's doing.
For sure. For sure. And that honestly brings me to my next point because you're one of the people who stand out to me because I know I've told you this before, but as men, like we have egos. There's no doubt about that. And there's a
Hmm.
lot of men out there who keeps like these ego doors open. and they're not open to seeking for help because they feel
Mm.
like they can figure it out on your own. So I kind of want to see your
100%.
perspective on that because like I know that you were in the gym for years on before you came to me. So I kind of want
Mhm.
to know what was the thought process that went behind that.
I mean, to be honest, it's just I guess lessons were learned, you know what I mean? Like I've definitely was like at a point where I guess I never really had the mindset thinking I was too good enough for a trainer. I just feel like, I feel like all the tools were there, you know?
Hmm.
And so I applied myself and yeah, I made gains and, but when it comes to the longevity aspect of things, I just kind of put that like, man, like I rather know a person that's really locked into like what I'm into, but also having more of that sustainable approach, like, because it's just
Hmm.
like I feel like that's where basically 90% of the population kind of just falls off track. You see in like the New Year's, everyone got these New Year's resolutions. It's locked in, all in the gym for the 2 months, and then what happens? It just is completely empty because
Hmm.
no one has that sustainability. They're like, oh well, if I got to be so strict and structured, like it's not really gonna motivate me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So I just feel like, working with you and you kind of just balancing and offsetting like all those stereotypical things and like putting the ego to the side. Like obviously it was easier with me and you because like we're homies or whatever, but
for sure.
I feel like that was the biggest game changer is just like, not everyone has everything figured out the way how they think they have it figured out. So it's just like, it's a win-win situation for the both of us, to be honest.
For sure. No, 100%. I 100% agree with everything that you said. There's actually, I can't remember the exact date, but I believe it's February 1st
Yeah.
is considered National Quitters Day. It's where everyone who started going to the gym for the New Year's resolution, they quit by that date, which is insane to me. Like it's crazy. It's
Seen it for
wild.
years. I swear I've seen it for years.
Yeah,
I,
it's wild.
I'm being real. I mean, shoot, I probably can fall in that category too. It's just like,
Same.
so I feel like when you just maybe you just have that reality check within yourself, like, you get to that point where you're just not satisfied and you're like, you know what? I don't want to keep looking this way. I don't want to keep feeling this way. I feel like mainly the thing that inspired me to really get into this journey was just the way of how I felt. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
wasn't necessarily like completely the appearance. I feel like it was just the way I felt. Like, you eat like, trash foods, but at the same time, they're great. They're flavorful and all this other stuff, but your energy levels deplete drastically. So I feel like, as you, were been working with me and just kind of guiding me through all these nutritional facts and stuff like that, I feel like, man, like I'm still really able to eat what I want. You just got to
Hmm.
kind of choose your battles in a sense, right?
Yep, 100%. So I know you're only a little bit over 3 months in. We still have way more progress to do, but you've seen
100%.
crazy, crazy progress. So tell the people, what you walked in at your weight as weight wise compared to where you're at now. Darren there with a six pack, which is crazy when I see those
Yeah.
progress photos. Like, tell the people a little bit about that because I don't know how much weight you drop. I know how much weight you drop, but tell the people a little bit about that side of things.
And if I had to go off of just me thinking right now, what I was probably weighing at like 247, something
Hmm.
like that. Now I'm at 220 pounds within the 3 months, all just off of discipline and structure. But I feel like, I guess the thing that I could just tell the people is just like, when you see the scale drop, it, let that motivate you and like to continue to keep pursuing your goals because it's very easy, especially being around big groups of friends and stuff on the weekends. They telling you, "Oh, let's go have fun, let's go party." But I feel like the biggest thing that people need to understand is like you got to know your reason why you're in this position in the first place.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Are you just gonna keep backtracking, going back to the same old habits just because you want to have some fun? Are you willing to sacrifice a little bit to just try to get to your goals? And then once you get to those goals, it's easier to maintain it. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep. 100%. 100% agree with you. So let me ask you this, how are you feeling now compared to what you were feeling like 3 months ago, as far as energy wise, confidence wise? Like I can tell this even seeing you, I can just tell your confidence already grew. I'm not gonna lie.
I
I
mean,
can tell. I can tell. I can tell. It definitely skyrocketed, and that's a good thing. But I want
Right.
to know how you're feeling internally compared from now compared to 3 months ago when you first came in.
Man, now I feel great. 3 months ago, I could tell you straight up, like I just was not feeling myself. My energy levels were very highs and lows, and I just wasn't happy where I was at in life. I feel like, once you lock into like kind of like even this journey though, it kind of goes into like a lot of scenarios into your life outside of just gym and nutrition, like, you know what I mean? So I feel like that the my biggest motivator, I guess, for within myself was just like how I felt with my energy and like my work environment. Like when you feel good, you eating healthy, it does play a huge role in your day-to-day lifestyle for real.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I guess that's the best way I could put it, really, for myself at least.
No, for sure. I like that you said that. And what I want to hit on is it's always funny to me because when you first came into the program, the first couple of weeks, you're like, man, I don't know if this is working. You're like saying, dude, I think I need to switch it up. And I just told you, I'm like, bro, trust the process. Now
Exactly.
look where you're at. So I want to see kind of like where your mind was at the beginning so you could kind of tell people to really trust the process. Because I remember when you first came in, you're like, damn, bro, we got to switch this up. And I predicted exactly where you're going to be at, which is just
Hmm.
funny to me. So I kind of
Right.
want to, pick your brain when it comes to that.
Man, I guess like when I started I feel like just within my past history, like I guess I didn't really touch base on this, but like me being in the gym and stuff, it was kind of like, I chased the pumps. Remember we were having that
Yep.
conversation, like a lot of these dudes and like, I mean, not even just dudes, women too, they're all about pumps. Like you feel your best when you look a little swole, whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like, when I started seeing the weight coming off, it was low key looking like I was losing muscle mass in a sense. But at the same time, you're more so just, it's the pump that makes you look all swollen and whatnot. And then once the pump is depleted, I mean, you're back to your normal self. It's just like,
Yep.
it's what you look like naturally. So I felt like, having some patience within myself, I feel like was the biggest factor. Like you just gotta trust the process. You just gotta trust the process. And I feel like that was also one of the things is like, when I was talking to you, I was doing like 2 hour workouts,
Yep.
It's just
Yep.
like you don't even need to be doing all that.
Yep.
So to come going from 2 hour workouts to dang near 45 when total, and then also you might add a little bit of cardio, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, with all that time spent within like just a whole hour workout, you got so much done. And all of a sudden, like within a few months, you're looking at your body composition. It's just like, whoa, like, this stuff is really working.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like just the narrative of like you trying to get jacked and just swole or whatnot, it's like you got to put in multiple hours a day. And that's not even the case. You know what I mean? You just got to build the
Mm-hmm.
basics, fundamentals, and time under tension, which you've been putting me on to, and just everything kind of plays its course throughout time. You just got to be patient. You can't just rush the
Yep.
process, right? So
100%. 100%. What would you tell a person who's on the fence about maybe joining the program? They're hesitating. They have that ego. What would you tell that person if they were to ask you, I don't know if I should do it or not? What would you tell that person?
tell them put the pride to the side. If it's not working for you, doing it dolo by yourself. I mean, seek guidance from somebody that's really doing this stuff full time and like, has the experience and the background research and everything that's included to really achieve the goals that you want. It's okay to ask for help. I just feel like as men personally, I just feel like we just have too much pride. So we feel like, we want to do it our own way. But at the end of the day, it's just like there's a reason why you're not satisfied with yourself and just let that speak volumes. You know what I mean? Let
Mm-hmm.
that be your guide to find what you're looking for, kind of thing. So
100%. 100%. 100%. I like that. I like that. Well, my man, that's all I have for you. Appreciate your time on hopping on here.